welcome everyone to another edition of RTP Behind the Scenes. This time I would like to diving into the Fractal again, but a couple videos ago I did a demo on basically building a patch. It was pretty simple. I believe all I had was an amp block, a cabinet block, a chorus, a delay, and a reverb. I think I pretty much left it at that. The one you're looking at right now, as you can see by the name, is the one that I use for distant early warning. There are some things within this patch, such as phaser and tone match, and pitch and wah, which I don't even use during distant early warning, but they're there just in case I want. This is a patch that I do use for a lot of songs. I just don't happen to have them enabled for this one. So what I'd like to do though is kind of talk about another way to build patches to really nail down the sound that I'm after, and it's by a method called reamping. There are a couple ways to do it, and kind of backing up, what this really means is using a dry signal, a completely dry, unaffected guitar signal, fed back through the Fractal, and then building the patch using that dry signal. A couple ways to do it. One of them is you can record a dry signal using your favorite audio software, such as Studio One or Audacity. If you want to use a free one, that works fine. And then you actually record a dry signal, feed it into the Fractal, and then just loop it. And my recommendation is always to use headphones or use a different room. Otherwise, you will drive your spouse crazy if you're looping the same part 94 times in a row. But fortunately for me, I'm in the other room with the door closed. So, but the other way to do it, instead of using recording software, Fractal includes something called a looper. And basically, it's a loop block. It's a loop block. There are a lot of different loopers on the market. I know Boss makes some really nice ones. And really what it is a way to play something and then record it on the fly and then play it back real time while you're playing over the top of something else. Pretty cool way to do things. What I'm going to do here is add it as a block. Here we go. Here's the looper block. Now, in most cases, when people are using a looper, in fact, if I demo it, what I'm going to do, first of all, is take my pedal board and I'm going to switch it to a looper mode that actually has those looper functions on it. This isn't something I would typically do live, but for this purpose, it actually works really well. So if I hit record, and then stop. Now I can play back. So I'm not playing here. So this is typically how you would use a looper. Distant early warning does not have a guitar solo or another guitar part over the top, so it's kind of pointless to make up something there. But you kind of get the idea. I'd be able to play something else over the top of. Now, take notice to where the looper block is. This path, starting with input 1, goes all the way here. I'm using this send and this return block just to extend the real estate here. I could have put this looper block, if I move everything over, I could have done this all in one line. But this is just to give me more space. But it's at the end, and what that means is when I recorded, it's going to pick up everything from input up until that looper block. So that includes amp, cabinet, chorus, delay, reverb. There's no audio that's tied into send and return, but that's, you're basically getting the full effect there. So if I play it back and I turn off things like amp and cab, it has no effect because it's already been recorded post amp, post cab. But what happens if I take this looper block and put it at the front of the chain? And I'm just going to overwrite this wah block because I don't really need it. Now, if I play it back here, you've got a fully affected recording that had amp, cabinet, chorus, delay, reverb. If I play it back from here, you can probably guess that it's going to reamp it. So it's going to be going through the amp again and the cabinet again and all this again, which basically means it's going to sound like mud because it's already been through all those. So not ideal. But what I can do is if I hit erase, so now if I hit play, there shouldn't be anything there. There we go. But by putting the looper at the front, I'm going to play the same phrase. I'm going to hit record and play the same phrase. Let's just select looper block so you can see what's going on. Okay. Now if I play it back, sounds just like what I played. The difference is the looper is recording right after the input, and I've got a volume block in there which doesn't affect the audio, it just affects the volume if I had the pedal plugged in. So I can bypass all these other blocks that actually change the effect, and I'm going to stop it. I'm actually going to trim the start and go right to the start there. There we go. Now, if I just let it loop, what I can do then is now I can add things. I can add cabinet, I can add amp, try different amps, drive blocks, choruses. And that's what I mean. We'll start just with a chorus. Add a dual delay here. Now there's no amp or no cab, so there's no drive. It's just, if I add a cabinet, that's basically what I start. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn down the gain. I've got all these amps to choose from. If I grab something that's completely different, let's put a Marshall. So you can see, I can basically, on the fly, build my patch by taking that completely dry signal at the start and just start altering things. As I said, you probably want to be in your own room or do this with headphones, but to not drive your better half crazy. But it's a great way to build a patch. I'll use that a lot of times. If there's something very specific that I'm after, my previous video I mentioned red barchetta. The lead patch is very distinct in that patch. It's really the only place I would use something like that. But by just taking a completely dry signal, recording that, and then just letting it loop, and then just start adding and removing things and changing things, eventually it really makes it much easier to dial in the sound that you're after. So that's pretty much it. It's a really good way to, like I said, it's not something you would do live in a live situation, unless you were doing a demo. But the looper block is a great way to do this. And the looper on the Axe-FX III, I believe, I could be wrong about this. I want to say it actually has up to 5 minutes of full stereo recording. So plenty of room to work on things like this. The FM3, which is another, that's the more portable Fractal, I use that as well. I believe that gives you up to 2 minutes of looper, so you can do it there too. It's a great way to really fine-tune those sounds. So that's what I do for a lot of the sounds. People will ask, like, oh, how did you dial in this sound? A lot of times it's by doing things like this, in a monotonous way of repeating and repeating and repeating and spending, many hours trying to dial it in. But it's a good way to do it. So, all right, that is it for me. I appreciate you joining, and hope to see you out there soon. Thanks a lot.